Ben Johnson has been hired by the Chicago Bears to be their head coach, but not before they called the Steelers to see if they'd be interested in moving on from Mike Tomlin. Now, did they think that they could get anywhere with that, or did they just conveniently leak it so that they look like they're turning over every stone? Doug, how do you think, though, if they really were going for it, how do you think that would go? Like, do you think it's Art Rooney picking up the phone? Is it Kevin?
Poles.
I almost said Kevin Colbert.
Yeah. Poles is probably talking to Omar about something.
Okay.
Hey, whatever, or casual conversation, then just throws it out there. Hey, would you guys be interested in giving up Tomlin for whatever? And then Omar's like, probably not, but I got to run it up the flagpole to make sure at least he knows. So if the McCaskies talk to the Rooneys at the owners' meetings, he knows that at least.
Is that the way it goes with, I'm sorry to cut you off. Is that the way it goes with every trade? Mm-hmm. You would have to run it up the flagpole to ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, because in the end.
I mean, certainly with a coach.
Yes. But in any trade, you at least have them aware. One of the things that I was taught is owners don't want to be made aware of anything going on in their organization through the media or someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You're their right-hand man, coach and GM. You let them know about everything. Now, menial stuff like, oh, well, the trash isn't getting picked up in the locker room. No. But, hey, we had to find this guy because he is continually soiling the locker room with his stuff. Then, yeah.
How much did you just pique my interest? How much did you deal with that on a day-to-day basis? Like Jimmy's socks stink and he's throwing them on the floor.
No, it was more, this assistant coach in pregame decides to relieve himself in his pants and then throws his pants in the locker room and doesn't tell the equipment guy. And this every single game. Yes.
That happened?
Every single game.
You're an assistant coach that would pee his pants before the game.
If you know, I'll tell you the name after it. Yeah. He got so excited and just so amped up. He would dribble down his pants and then just take them off, change, throw them in there, and not say anything. Yeah. The equipment manager's like, can you believe this? I'm like, please don't tell me stuff like that anymore. He goes, I have to.
If there was a quarterback that you were looking at in the draft that had all the intangibles, all the measurables, but he peed himself before every game, you can't draft that guy, right?
Well, this quarterback's getting drafted now. The first overall pick, they paint their nails.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yep.
You can play, you play.
Yeah. Depends on the stats.
Peeing myself, though, would feel like I am scared of this moment here.
Exactly. And he called plays like that.
Yes. This just in, former offensive coordinator used to pee his pants with the Buffalo Bills. Holy cow. So, do you think the Steelers should have legitimately entertained a trade inquiry from the Bears?
From the Rooney side and the way they think, after you just heard what Jim Rooney said, no, they wouldn't.
I know that they wouldn't. They didn't. But would you have?
I mean, I would listen.
Yeah.
It costs you nothing to listen.
Right.
If they're going to sit there and say, we'll give you first-round picks for the next 10 years, again, to me, I definitely would have listened and I would have said, Art, whatever formula your family has come up with for hiring is not only spot on, but is the gold standard. So don't be afraid to lose Mike. Mike's done great work here, and I'm not running him out of town, but let's listen because we can institute that same formula to find our next Mike Tomlin, our next Bill Cowher. So that, to me, is where I don't think the apprehension should be as tight as they are right now with losing Mike Tomlin. And again, I'm not running Mike Tomlin out of town, which a lot of people are, but I'm saying if it happened to go down that way where they offered you 5 first-rounders, I'd be like, Art, come on now. This might be a way that you truly put your stamp on this franchise. And 5 first-rounders and a new head coach, I'm just saying.
And the franchise. Because at this point, it kind of feels like Tomlin is bigger than the franchise. I'm also interested, then I'll stop peppering you with coaching trade-related questions, Doug. Are no trade clauses for coaches, are they boilerplate? Does every head coach have one, or most head coaches have one? Why would Tomlin have asked for one, or his agent asked for one to be in his contract?
That's a great question, and I never read a coaching contract in start to finish, but I don't ever remember putting or being asked to put a no trade contract clause in the contract. And I was obviously intimately involved with our director of administration, which did the contracts. So the only reason I would say he put it in is for this reason now, so he can go out to the media and say, I got a no trade clause in my contract, so I don't want to do it. That's it.
I'm wondering if he wanted it in there because he knows he's never going to get fired, because he knows that they think that would be a bad look.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he thinks the only way that they would ever move on from him is a trade.
There you go.
And so you've cemented yourself in there now. Like, okay, you're not going to fire me. Well, now you can't trade me. So I'm here forever.
That's a great way to look at it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Bears were actually interested, or do you think they just wanted to put pressure on Ben Johnson by putting it out there that they called on Mike Tomlin?
I think a little bit of both, but I think they would definitely be interested if there was mutual interest. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things, you kick the tires and they're far off. I mean, I remember calling a team about a quarterback they had just drafted and had a great rookie year. It's like, hey, any chance? Guy laughed at me, but I had to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they had to ask. And I'm sure if Art would have been like, what are you thinking? Then the wheels start. Okay, now let's start putting a package together. Let's really start thinking about having him as our coach. But you throw it out there.
Yeah, because
water.
You got to try to figure it out. I mean, if you're not going to ask, they ain't going to do it.
Mm-mm.
So you might as well ask.